Our oceans are really busy places. And I think if you stand at the shoreline and look out, occasionally you'll see like a cruise ship or some fishing boats, but you don't get a sense of the scale of industry that's already out there.
I love the fact that people, if they treat the ocean properly and learn it, can continually go back year after year and harvest something out of the ocean and create jobs and feed people. I think that's just, wow, that's amazing, right? I mean, there's nowhere else on our planet do we have these wild, renewable resources that feed people.
Before the Marine Conservation Initiative got started, much of the activity in the ocean was just whoever got there first, and whatever it was that they wanted to do was kind of pursued without regard to other uses, without regard to the long-term sustainability of ecosystems, and without regard to other people who really depend on those resources. The Moore Foundation over the past decade has made tremendous progress in building toward a sustainable future for the way we use ocean resources and for how the ecosystems on which we all depend are managed.
In 2005, when the Marine Conservation Initiative was approved, the field of ocean planning was nascent. I don't even think we would call it a field. I was brought on with several other colleagues in 2004 because the Moore Foundation really was concerned about oceans, but didn't know what it should do or if it should even proceed with a program in ocean conservation. So we embarked on a year-long investigation into the greatest threats to the oceans. At the time, those solutions that we landed on were coming up with different ways that fisheries can be reformed and ocean planning. So those are the two solutions that we proposed to the board in July of 2005. The board approved a 10.5-year initiative at that time and a funding envelope and gave us some room to go forward and make grants and create and find partnerships.
My name's Tom Dempsey. I'm now the Senior Fisheries Project Director at the Nature Conservancy here in California. Years back, and it's no secret, both in New England and here on the West Coast, the groundfish fisheries had been mismanaged. Those fisheries were declared fisheries disasters because the resource, in many cases, were at really low levels, depleted levels. And so both the fish stocks and then the businesses that were relying on them were in pretty dire straits. And when the Moore Foundation initially started making investments in reforming those fisheries, a lot of people were interested in new ways, new approaches to managing those fisheries.
Kate Cower, and I'm a Fisheries Project Director with the Nature Conservancy in California. Some of the most innovative work that's happening in this fishery, focused on cooperative management or community-based management, has really been driven by fishermen leaders to reduce the bycatch of constraining stocks in this fishery, use technology to actually collect information out on the water that we use in real time to make decisions about where the fishing happens, and then actually taking that information and using it in ways that haven't really been tested out before.
My name is Sarah McTee. I'm a Fishery Policy Manager at Environmental Defense Fund. TNC and EDF have been working really closely together ever since I started around electronic monitoring. And what that is, it's essentially technology, camera systems that you can place on boats to monitor what's being caught, how it's being handled, and whether any fish are being discarded. We're trying to help find solutions to fisheries monitoring that are both affordable but maintain this high level of accountability.
And here, this is the camera system now that's loading up, and we've had this on our boat since 2010. This is kind of neat. The way this works is these are observing every movement that we make, and it's recording it all. This season right here was the first season I had this camera on, and this was the very first year that I went fishing without a human observer. I believe that if I can do this and show the model that it works, and that the other guys will be able to see, hey, it's working for him, and now we got a guideline, so we could do that. So ultimately it saved maybe guys on the East Coast, maybe guys anywhere else.
For me, one of the most unique components of this has been the real collaboration and partnership. and the learning that's happened along the way.
It's just such a neat partnership because we support each other's work. We have common goals and complementary goals. And even on the East Coast, seeing where the Cape Cod Fishermen's Association, some of the work that they're doing, I think they're going to be leaders in that fishery.
I'm John Pappalardo. I'm the CEO of the Cape Cod Commercial Fishermen's Alliance based in Cape Cod in Chatham, Mass. Working directly with the fishing communities in New England and taking fishermen's experiences and transforming them into public advocacy for sustainable fisheries. So in New England, about a decade ago, we had an overfishing problem. We had a lot of our fisheries that were taking far more fish than science suggested we should. And we didn't have a system in management to pay back those overages. So you had a chronic overdraft of your bank account, if you will. Over the past 5 or 6 years, we've started to take steps towards building a set of tools that fishermen and fisheries managers can use to more proactively manage our fisheries. We've begun to manage fisheries and talk about fisheries in terms of an ecosystem as opposed to single species management. People that spend their time on the water, either recreationally or commercially, realize that just like on land, there's an interplay between species and an interdependency. That same dynamic exists in the marine environment, except we have a little more trouble documenting it or quantifying it.
My name's John Auer. I've been fishing for 35 years, second generation, and I've always fished out of Chatham. I have the Flounders system, which is the electronic VTR, and I like it a lot. I use it every day. We start the trip in the morning. You go into your computer and it has a trip start, the end of the date and the time you leave the dock. And then on the way home, there's 5 different categories: catch, what you caught for discharge, your landings, trip notes, and the export of the thing. But it's very handy, it's up to date, and it's a lot better than the paper. The Alliance has been very good in bringing fishermen in and trying to solve all policies that we face today, such as observer coverage, stock assessments. They've been real leaders on where we should go today.
It's a great time for fishermen to give voice to their observations. They spend more time on the water than any other group of people in the region, and their observations should at least be documented and shared with people that are trying to manage on a regional basis. One of the hallmarks of the MCI program has been their focus on helping public institutions and private institutions manage change, necessary change for sustainability, and create an environment where people can safely practice the change, and ultimately it's no longer a change, it becomes the normal thing to do.
My name is Allie Chase, and I work at the Natural Resources Defense Council. I lead a coalition of environmental organizations from New York through Virginia, and we are in close contact with each other to talk about what we want to see the Mid-Atlantic Regional Planning Body do. I can wholeheartedly say that we are light years ahead of where we were in 2005. We didn't even have the National Ocean Policy until 2010, and now we have regional planning bodies that have sprung up across the country. I'm really excited about the Mid-Atlantic Ocean Data Portal. The fact that we now have this place to go to that can pull information in from all these various sources. You can pull up all the species data for an area, all the habitat data. You can map them against each other. You can put in where a project is going to be, and everyone can look at it, and you can see exactly what is going on in the ocean and where there are problems we need to address, and we can all sit around and discuss that. And I think that without that tool, it would be very difficult for the regional planning body to achieve their goals of an ocean action plan that actually meant something for our oceans.
I'm Tony McDonald, and I'm the director of the Urban Coast Institute at Monmouth University in West Long Branch, New Jersey. I work with a team of people to actually develop what's called the Mid-Atlantic Ocean Data Portal. We work with a group called MARCO. They're a coalition of the governors running from New York down to Virginia. And what we're doing is actually developing really the planning platform, a state-of-the-art information platform. So we're gathering data and information about natural resource issues to actually inform decisions about ocean planning. Well, some of the progress I think that really we can show a lot of progress is, first of all, working with Marco and what's called the federal regional planning bodies, we actually are advancing an ocean plan in the Mid-Atlantic. So the portal, which was just an idea 10 years ago, has grown from being sort of really what I call a data library into a data resource.
The fact that the regional planning bodies have undertaken this process to identify where the ecologically rich areas are is incredibly important, because suddenly when you have a map coming out from a body that is populated with state and federal agencies, the question is, how are you going to protect these places? What's your next step? It's inspiring to look to the work that has been done in BC, and I know Moore has been very engaged in that effort, to just be inspired by the fact that this is really tough work and it takes a long time, but you have successes.
My name is Steve Dakin. I work with Coastal First Nations and Great Bear Initiative. I'm the Marine Planning Coordinator. So here in Canada, we put in place some legislation around ocean activities and ocean management. We spend a lot of time collecting information, trying to understand it, engaging folks on how to do things differently or better. And since that legislation is put into place, we've really come a long way. We've gone from a navel-gazing exercise with the federal government to a real comprehensive process that has brought together stakeholders, the provincial government and First Nations, to really look at, what are the values and issues on the water.
My name is Dallas Smith. I'm the president of Nunn-Wacolis Council. It's a council of 8 First Nations working together on resource management values. We came together during the Great Bear Rainforest process. As you go through the Great Bear Sea, you'll see the best of both worlds. You'll see the integration of industrial use, cultural heritage, resource management. You'll see our guardians out there implementing our land use plans, tourism development. And what we've noticed through the years of planning process and working collaboratively together is that we can all make our livelihoods and still have respect for each other and the environment that we're working in.
My name is Douglas Niesloss. I am from the Kitasoo Nation, otherwise known as Klemtu. I work as a resource stewardship director, where I manage a number of different programs in the community. I also work as the elected chief councillor and as a Central Coast Governance Committee representative. With this marine planning work that we've been doing over the last number of years, I think it really allows us to connect to a wider audience. We've been working a lot now with Haida Gwaii, with the North Coast, with Nunn-Wacolis, and then we represent the Central Coast here. So that's been really good because we've been able to share a lot more data and help build our marine plans together. So we're not just going to the table empty-handed anymore, we're going to the table with information. We have eyes and ears out there every day, and we have scientific information that we're going to the table with. We have local knowledge, traditional ecological knowledge. So I think that really puts us in a strong position because we live here and we see it all the time.
I feel a great sense of accomplishment, really. I think that the work that we've done in the last 10 years has been pretty amazing. I think that what have we learned and what would we offer as advice to other processes? Build strong relationships. This is mostly about people. People dealing with people on how they deal with activities. How we go forward, I think, is all about how we maintain those relationships.
To anyone that is considering getting involved in advocacy, nonprofit advocacy, or taking up a cause, make sure it's something you actually care about, and understand that everything has to do with people. I don't think it matters whether it's fisheries, oceans, veterans affairs, healthcare. I don't care what the issue is. It's all about people.
You can't do this by yourself. You have to work with others. And the reason is that this is such a big concept, just a change in the way that we're doing business, that you have to create the environment where you can elevate that discussion and have those ideas take root all throughout the area.
Over the last 10 years, I've learned that social change is really messy, it's really complex, takes a long time. 10 years, frankly, is just a blip in the long time frame of what we're trying to do. We're trying to change the way humans behave and the way institutions and governance mechanisms are created. And I just couldn't be more thrilled to be here 11 years later and 10 years after the start date to see how all of these things have come to fruition.
I'm really excited about all the work and proud of all the grantees and organizations that we've been able to work with. I think we've come a long way and probably collectively accomplished more than we even thought we could when we started out. So it's been great, and I think there's a lot of good conservation that happened that might not have otherwise.
As one chapter begins to draw to a close, we look forward to collaborating with these grantees in looking toward what comes next in the areas which they do work that pursues this unifying theme that we share, and that's ocean conservation and a sustainable future of human interaction with the ocean. And that's a pretty exhilarating opportunity. That can really make a difference, and that's why we do this work.